So when we talk to a family or to a senior, we are finding out, what their budget is. We're educating them on, how they're going to pay for senior housing or different services. If it's VA, if it's long-term care insurance, we're finding out where they want to live. What's important to them? Do they love basket weaving? Well, you know what? This community does basket weaving. Are they into pickleball? Okay, this one's got a pickleball team, whatever. So we are trying to match them as perfectly as we can to the right care, the right health needs, if they have healthcare needs, lifestyle preferences, and financial situations. So that's all very, very important. Welcome to Aging in Style, the podcast dedicated to celebrating aging and what it takes to do it well. I'm Lori Williams. I'm a certified senior advisor and senior housing expert. In each episode, you'll learn stories of older adults who are thriving in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and in some cases in their hundreds. Whether you're an older adult or the child of an older adult, this podcast is filled with insightful resources, organizations that are doing incredible work, and stories that will inspire you to volunteer, learn, and who knows, maybe even skydive in your golden years. Hi, welcome to Aging in Style. I'm so glad you have tuned in. I think you're going to learn a lot on today's podcast, where we are going to discuss all about navigating senior living and why you need an expert to help you with this. A senior living expert or senior placement agency, that's what you need. And the reason this topic came up is for two things. This week has been kind of an interesting week. So earlier, I met a really nice gentleman. He was in his upper 80s, and he asked me what I did for a living. And so I told him, I own a senior placement service, and I help people find senior living communities. And he said to me, "You must not have much business." And so I kind of was like, it kind of took me back for a second. And I laughed, and I'm like, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, I'm not moving out of my house, and none of my friends are moving out of their houses either. And I said, you know what? I get that, and I respect it. And that is part of what we do too. So it just made me realize I need to talk a little more about what we do. So yes, we help with placement, help moving people to senior living as needed, but we also completely understand and respect that most people want to stay in their own homes as long as possible. I want to stay in my home as long as possible, but there comes a time when it's no longer going to work. So what we do is on one side of the coin, we are helping people stay in their homes as long as they can safely. And that could look like making sure that they have a safe environment, making sure there aren't fall risks, because that's the big bad thing that happens. Someone falls, and that's the deal breaker. They're out of their home. They're no longer independent, and we don't want to see that. We help people if maybe they can no longer cook and they're homebound, they can't drive. So there's services for meals, like Meals on Wheels. There's also in-home care services where we can help them find a caregiver to come into their home and help them with companion services, bathing, dressing, making meals, whatever they need that's going to help them remain in their home as long as possible, safely. And then, if it is no longer safe to stay in their home, for example, they're falling all the time, or there's dementia, or there's some other kind of illness, then we look at moving them to an appropriate senior living community where their care needs can be met and they will be safe. But not always do people just move when they have to. There's a lot of people out there who are super social. They don't want to live in their home anymore. They don't want to have to keep up with the house, replace their air condition. And that's, oh gosh, y'all, that one is a big one for me because I'm in Texas where it is already heating up. It's going to be a hot summer, and one of my AC units has gone out. And it's about $11,000 to replace that dang thing. So I'm feeling this right now that I understand that if you're on a fixed income, staying in your own home can be very expensive. You've got upkeep of your yard, you've got property taxes. There's so much. So there's a lot of people who say, hey, you know what? I want easy life. I'm moving to 55 plus. I'm going to have just an apartment to be concerned about, and I'm going to travel. Or I'm moving to independent living, and I don't have to worry about anything. My meals are included and transportation, and this is just, easy time. So the beautiful thing about senior living is there's something for everyone. And if you live in a big metroplex, as I do in the Dallas area, there are, I'm going to venture to say, probably thousands of different options out there. And that's a wonderful thing to have so many choices. So that was one thing that happened this week, which made me think, let's talk today a little more about senior placement services and how you really, truly need to work with an expert. So the other thing that happened was I was at a networking marketing kind of meeting, and there was a lady there who stood up to introduce herself, and she said, I'm a realtor, and I also help my clients find assisted living. And so my ears kind of perked up because in my experience, those are two different things. So I don't present myself as a realtor because I don't know anything about contracts and selling houses, and there's a lot to know. So I was kind of like, well, let me hear how she's doing both these things. So she said, yes, I have this family I'm working with to sell her house, and I'm looking at assisted living communities, and the lady cannot leave her home. So I am videotaping and showing her the different assisted living communities. So she's taking all of her time to go and visit places for this lady, right? Then a little bit later in the conversation, she asked the question of the group. She said, these assisted living places are expensive. I need to find ones. You pay for it using Medicare. Y'all, I don't even know what to say to that because if you listen to the podcast, that's kind of like Senior Living 101. Medicare is your health insurance. It doesn't pay for senior housing. Womp, womp, womp. That made me think, again, let's talk more about this on a podcast episode. We need to address this because you need to know when you are looking for senior housing, senior resources, you need to go to an expert. A realtor will help you sell your house. They're experts. I would never try to do their job. A lawyer, if you have a will, trust, I will send you to great lawyers all day long. I will send you to great realtors all day long. If you need hospice, I can tell you what hospice is, but I don't know all the details. So I'm going to send you to a hospice professional, and so on and so on. There are so many different aspects, so many different professions that come into helping someone as they age, and then also downsizing and transitioning into senior living. So you need to always use an expert. If you're selling your house, use an expert. If you need an estate plan and a will, use an attorney expert. If you need to find senior placement or help staying safe in your home, hello, here I am. You're going to talk to me or another senior placement advisor. That's what we do all day long. So to tell you a little bit about what we do, I've already kind of explained, the kind of services we provide, but what you may not know is how much time myself and my team put into making sure the communities that we are referring our clients to are places that we would refer our own families to. Same thing with services. If I have, a client call me and they say, Lori, my dad needs a will, I'm going to send you to an attorney that I would go to. Someone who I have vetted, I have talked to, they know their stuff. If you're needing a VA rep, I've got someone for you. I'm going to send you over there. They're going to walk you through it. I am not a VA expert. So that's what we do all day. Obviously, we talk to clients. We help them figure out what's going to be the best fit for them. But we also visit all of these different senior communities. And so my team and I, it's really interesting how things have kind of developed. Dallas is huge. Dallas-Fort Worth, we cover the whole area. So we try to go and see every single community. And I mean, there are some we haven't seen yet, but there's always new ones popping up. So we have them on our list and we have someone going to see them. But the interesting thing about senior living is there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of communities that are sold to other companies. So there's a lot of change going on. There's people who are executive directors or salespeople or nurses, and they're moving from community to community. So it could be seriously probably like 2 people, a full-time job, keeping our database updated with all the changes that are constantly happening. And I think we do a really good job of maintaining that. It's not perfect, but we do our very best. And we have a group text where if someone hears about, hey, there's a great special running at this one, or hey, I just heard the nurse quit over here at this community. We need to be on the lookout and see what's happening there. Or, hey, I need a care home with, a really tight budget. Who do y'all know? So we stay in touch like that. So, which I love. I love that about our team, that we're able to help each other because we're in different areas of Dallas-Fort Worth. And, it's great to be able to all be professionals. This is all we do is placement. So we're keeping our information in each other as updated as possible. So what we do, one, as I said earlier, if you want to stay home, we're going to help you stay home and we will connect you with resources. But we're also going to help you make a plan for the future. And that plan is going to involve, at some point, if you want to move to senior living, we're going to educate you on how you pay for it, how much it costs, what are the communities in your area, so that you are aware of what's to come if you need to make a move. You need to know what's in your area. It's best not to just stick your head in the sand and be an ostrich. So that is like a huge part of what we do in our education, and also through education on this podcast. That's huge to me, to be able to educate people outside of my general just Dallas-Fort Worth area, but all over the country, to know the different types of senior housing that are out there and how people pay for them. So when we talk to a family or to a senior, we are finding out, what their budget is. We're educating them on, how they're going to pay for senior housing or different services. If it's VA, if it's long-term care insurance, we're finding out where they want to live, what's important to them. Do they love basket weaving? Well, you know what? This community does basket weaving. Are they into pickleball? Okay, this one's got a pickleball team, whatever. So we are trying to match them as perfectly as we can to the right care, the right health needs, if they have healthcare needs, lifestyle preferences, and financial situations. So that's all very, very important. And we're able to do that by knowing our communities, by visiting them, by building relationships with the people who work in the communities, so that they're reaching out to us on a regular basis. Since when maybe they have availability in memory care, maybe they have a unique situation where a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment has come available in assisted living. So there's things like that you just, if you work in senior living, what is something that's very in high demand, and what sort of like your unicorn. Maybe a memory care for $2,500 a month, a shared space. Sometimes that comes up, y'all. So, it's great to have those relationships so that you will get the phone calls saying, hey, I've got this available now. And then I can go back and look in my database and go, hey, Miss James, she needs this, and we're going to send her over. So another big part when you are a senior placement agent or whatever, there's different titles that people have. So senior placement agent, senior advisor, there's so many different ways. Whatever title you use, the main thing is not only the knowledge and the relationships that you're building with the communities, but also having that ability to emotionally connect with the seniors and their families, because sometimes I call them clients, but I don't think of them as clients because it just feels so much more personal to me that these are families that we're helping. These are seniors, and I just think of them as families. So if that makes sense. So it's just it's just an emotional connection. So for example, there was this lady I worked with, and bless her heart, she was only, I think, like in her early 70s, and her husband was older. He had a lot of health issues. He had dementia. She's trying to take care of him at home on her own. She had no family to help, and it was just overwhelming and becoming so much to her. And to make things even more difficult, she had a really tight budget. And I mean, it was enough that we could find something for him, but it wasn't going to pay for a memory care. So as his condition progressed, I talked to her, and, one of the things that came up was a residential care home. And she had been resistant to that initially because she wanted him in a larger community. And at one point that would have been best for him, but they'd waited so long that by this point, his care needs and his ability to even communicate were so impaired that really he was fine to go to the smaller care home. He didn't, he wasn't participating in activities, and he needed more of like a one-on-one care. And let me kind of back up. A lot of times with the families we work with, these conversations we have with them can go years before they finally make a decision, or it comes to the point where they have no choice but to move forward. Sometimes someone will call us one day and they're moving the next day. But a lot of times, because it's such an emotional decision, it can take a long time to get there. And this was the case with this lady. But she called me. She said, "Lori, it's time. She's crying. I don't know what more I can do. I can't do this anymore." So I called one of the care homes that I knew would be in her budget. They had an opening. She went to look at it. Next step was she decided she was going to move him there. I said, "I really think he's going to qualify for hospice. I'm not a hospice, professional, but let me refer you to someone. They will come, meet with you, do the assessment, and they will let you know. And if he does, that's going to be more resources for him." Well, sure enough, he did qualify for hospice. And if you haven't listened to our hospice podcast, you should, because that'll explain to you what hospice is. There's a lot of confusion about what it is, how it's paid for, all of that. So definitely go listen to that podcast. And then the next part of what she needed was, she said, "We never really finished our estate planning. Is there someone you can refer me to?" Of course, I have, several great attorneys. Here's one. Call. She did. So I was able to help her find the care home that was going to work, which is my job as a senior placement professional. And then I was also, through this, able to connect her with a hospice, able to connect her with an attorney, and I also helped her with a mover because she was not able to pack things up and move them herself. And it was a small move. It wasn't a lot that she wanted to bring. There was a special chair, there were pictures and other things. And I knew of a small moving company that is very personalized, very family oriented, and they were able to help her out. So that's what we do as a company and as a placement service. So to kind of summarize all of this, senior placement services offer personalized care. We offer in-depth knowledge of senior living options. I mean, we are boots on the ground. We are visiting these places, and that is all we do. We don't do other things other than senior living and senior resources. We pretty much just breathe that. Eat, sleep, breathe it. I mean, that's what we do. When it comes to anything else, any other professionals, we are going to refer you to people that we know, that we have used in the past and have done a good job. So I hope that helps people understand, like the two people that, what happened earlier this week. The gentleman who told me that, I don't have any business. No one's going to be moving. So how we help someone who's staying home, but, that there are people who do need help moving forward. And then also why it's so important to use someone who is a professional and this is all they do is senior living. That's what I have for you today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope that you will share this with your friends and family because I think it's important to understand the role of a senior placement service and that you truly need to work with someone who this is what they do, where their expertise is. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money, stress, all of those things. And, we know things by working in this industry that other people that are in other industries probably don't know about. So that's all I have, and I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.